But don't look in your rearview mirror, here comes number 8. He's a rocker and a roller, and he shows us how to shut him down. I guess he runs independent until my daddy's back in town. Yeah, I guess he runs independent until my daddy's back in town. Bad boy, stand on it, son.
And welcome to the Nasboys podcast. Now, did you know that before Michael McDowell was a Daytona 500 champion, he actually started out in Champ Cars, winning a championship in 2004, and that season having 7 wins. You probably didn't know that, as did we not. We did not. Excuse me, I can't talk. But anyways, welcome to the Nasboys podcast. I'm your host, Mike, here with my good friend Ryan, aka 3_ Ryan_W 3_.
Hey guys.
And a very special guest tonight, LFRD 23, aka Luis.
Thank you, Mike, for having me here and for letting me be part of your podcast.
Yes, thank you for coming, Luis. We really appreciate it.
Yep.
So if you don't mind starting out with a couple of questions, I think that will be a good start to the show. So how did you get into NASCAR, considering that you're all the way from Venezuela?
Okay, so this is a nice story. I was doing homework at my house and I found the 2018 Daytona 500. So I watched that race and I really liked it. So from there on, I started watching every week and I became a big fan of the sport.
All right, that's cool. My next question is, do they broadcast NASCAR in Venezuela? If not, how exactly do you watch?
There's a Fox Sports channel that broadcasts almost every race, but if it's not on TV, then online stream pretty much.
Okay, that's pretty much what I expected, to be honest, but I just was very curious about that. And finally, what do people think of NASCAR if you ever talk about it with them?
Not really. They don't really like it. I mean, I know no one else that likes it here. I've seen a couple people who were NASCAR stuff on the street, but never ever met someone that likes NASCAR sport.
Okay. Ryan, do you have any questions for him?
No, not really.
Okay, so I guess we can get started with the recaps of the episode. For starters, the truck race, or the duels, I should say. The duels were fairly interesting, I would say. What's you guys' thoughts on the duels?
I only saw the first duel because I had falling asleep from the rain delay. But the first duel was okay. Like it was good. It was entertaining, kind of boring, but I liked it. It was a good race for a duel. It was cool to see them back on the oval, and exciting at some parts, basic at some parts. Almirola won, which I wasn't expecting. I don't think he was any of our picks. So.
No. Well, actually, a fan did pick him. Shout out to iam.mattgpastor for picking Eric Almirola, and he almost got Bubba Wallace right in the second duel.
Yeah, shout out to him. But as an Almirola fan, it was cool to see him win. Had a few little spins here and there, but overall, it was a pretty solid race. It was a good duel. Great way to start bringing the season back.
Luis, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I thought those were pretty good. Obviously, great finish, and both of them. The first one was pretty nice, seeing Logano almost win, then Almirola coming right back at him. And really sad just to see Ty Dillon not making the race after the great performance he had in the duel.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Uh,
Like
that's pretty much it.
similar to what Ryan said, I only saw the second duel, and here's a funny story. I really wanted it to rain because I really wanted to watch the first duel because that was the duel Joey was in, and I was like, please rain, and it didn't, and I missed it. And then when I come right back home, it rains during the second duel, so that sucks. But second duel was really great, a lot of action. Um, yeah, good job by NASCAR there to have some awesome action and great last lap pass by Austin Dillon. Big shout out to him for that.
Hmm.
Here's you guys' thoughts on the duels, if I can, or actually, here's your thoughts on Ty Dillon not making the 500. Kevin Harvick Central just says BS, which I can sort of agree with. And same guy, Matt G. Pastor says Cindric put up a better lap last night, so he earned it. What's your guys' thoughts on Cindric or Ty Dillon not making the 500?
I personally feel like he was cheated out of it. Yeah, when you look at the rules and overall it was fair, but he was running high that whole race just to get passed on the last lap, not even lose by a full car length, I don't believe. So I just feel like he should have made it and that he did get cheated out. So I agree with the person who called it BS.
Yeah, I also think that it's kind of BS, but I understand the rules. You know, Cindric did have a fast car. We did see him running relatively well in the 500, so that does not surprise me that he made it in. But I feel like Ty should have made it in over like Cope, Priest. I know Cope had a charter, I think, so I know that wouldn't be prevented. But yeah, definitely would have been a better addition than what's his face, Derek Cope, who just crashed out on lap 4.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that the charge system is really not working for NASCAR. I mean, if the right coach can make the race and Ty Dillon cannot, that's a big failure for sports. And overall, that stuff shouldn't happen because first thing first should be good competition, cars making the race, more entertainment. But I guess that big teams like the charter system and there's not really much they can do anymore.
I agree. I think that the charter system should be abolished. I don't know why it's there, but yeah. Here's what you guys said about Duel 1. 7 of you said great. 11 of you said good. 2 of you said meh. And 1 of you said bad. I didn't watch it, so I'm not going to rate it. Next up, no one answered there. Next up, driver of the day for the Clash. We did not do this. The majority says Chase, so we're going to go with Chase for the driver of the day for the Clash. Driver of the day for Duel 1 was Eric Amarola. And now Duel 2. Hang on 1 second, I'm a little bit unorganized here. What you guys thought of Duel 2 was 10 of you said great, 6 of you said good, 2 of you said meh, none of you said bad. And driver of the day was Austin Dillon. So now we're going to talk about the Garrett Smithley wreck in Duel 2, I believe. What's you guys' thoughts on that?
I didn't actually see it, so I don't really know what to say about it.
Luis?
Well, obviously, my first thought was, what is Smith doing? That was reckless. Then, after watching the replay, I think that was just him going for a gap that doesn't exist, and that he was obviously trying hard to get into a race for a small team. While I do think it's Smith's fault, it's just racing, you know. He had to do it. He had to pass Braxton, and that's just how it works.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where you're coming from there. He did see the gap, which I think he would have made the gap if Keselowski didn't come up, but I'm not faulting anybody on it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I actually did see it. I was drawing a blank here, but after looking it up, I do remember it. Yeah, obviously we saw Garrett Smithley come down to try to go through a gap, but I don't think it's 100% his fault because Brad did come up at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's Brad's fault. I'm not saying it's anyone's fault. It's just like wrong place, wrong time sort of thing, wrong movement, wrong time. One car came down, one car came up, and that's just what set the whole thing off.
I think it was just a spotter error, like in Keselowski's fault. No one's fault really.
Yeah.
Now the truck race. That was some great racing there. I really loved watching the truck race. What were you guys' thoughts on it?
That was exciting. I liked it. Like from beginning to end, it was great racing, like wrecks, like not every few laps, but there were still quite a few wrecks, quite a few cautions. Yeah, overall, just great race. I liked watching it. I didn't really watch much of the lower series until this year and near the ending of last year. But compared to the truck races I did see, this I'm pretty sure I did watch the Talladega truck race last year. But this truck race was exciting. It was cool to see all these drivers back and really racing for the win. And that ending was crazy. Matt Crafton, I would say, like, yes, he was blocking to help his teammate, but he did some really aggressive blocking. He was like flying up and down the track and caused the wreck, but that just made it even more exciting. And I was rooting for Jordan Anderson. He came second yet again. So overall, great race, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you with the Crafton thing. I know that they're just racing. I guess he was trying to help his teammate. I'm not sure what he was doing because he would have finished second or third either way. But great finish. We did see some young guns out there running good, such as Haley Deegan before she spun out, Chase Purdy. A lot of good guys running out there well. And I can't wait to watch the rest of the truck series because if it's anything like that race, I think it's going to be a good season for them.
Truck race was really good. Had good stage finishes. Had good racing throughout. The finish was amazing. I was really rooting for Roper to win, but at the end, Rhodes had run at the trial and won. But that was great. There was a weird moment at the very end where Chris Wright in the Young Motorsports truck wrecked the whole field trying to block. I think it was Moffitt, but I'm not sure. And wiped out most of the field. But other than that, it was a really good race, good finish, and good racing.
Yeah, aside from the fact that Ben Rhodes won, definitely a good race. Now we're going to look at what you guys think of it. 8 of you said great, 7 of you said good, 1 of you said meh, and 1 of you said bad. I don't know exactly why you would say meh or bad because that was some really good racing, but all right. Actually, I do know why. Someone says Rhodes won. Stuff. Jonas says because Rhodes won. Well, I agree. I don't like Rhodes either, but that doesn't change the fact that the race was really good. And the majority of you said Corey Roper or Cody Roper, Corey Roper. I don't know what his name is. He definitely was driver of the day. He ran such a good race. I wish he would have won.
Yeah,
that
me
race.
too.
Yeah.
We're almost done here. Xfinity. Let me see what we got. So, what were you guys' thoughts on the Xfinity race? Nothing really special in my opinion so far.
Yeah, I mean, there was good racing here and there, and I more listened to it than actually watched it. But I did see like a few wrecks here and there, and it was a good race. I don't think it was as good as the truck race, but it was still good race. I always like the Xfinity races. They really do race good. But yeah, good race. good finish as always, and yeah, overall, I think it was still fun to watch.
Yeah, Xfinity was okay. I wouldn't say like it was bad, but it was not definitely good. I've seen way better racing in Xfinity. Um, it was a solid race, I would say. Cindric won. That's not a bad race. JRM ran pretty good. Um, yeah, good job for Xfinity.
Uh, well, the Swinter race was meh, as Krista will say. I mean, it didn't have any great moments. It had a lot of big wrecks, though. There was a wreck, I think, past the stage two that wiped out most of JRM, and it caused the doubling the train. And from there on, it was kind of boring race. The finish was alright, but Simric blocked really well, did a really good job. So there's, I mean, kudos to him. It was a great run for him, great win. But out of the races we talked about so far, wasn't terrible.
Right. And here's what you guys had to say about it. 6 of you said great. 7 of you said good. 2 of you, I believe, including Luis, yep, said meh, and 1 of you said bad. And driver of the race, no one could really agree on anything. The votes were Josh Berry, Brandon Brown, and Brandon Jadiovic. I don't know how to pronounce his name. And Stuff
Brandon
Jonas.
Budavic.
Oh, thank you, Luis. Stuff.Jonas again says, wrong thought bubble, but I forgot to post one. He says, horrible racing and finish. Okay. Now, big race. Great American race. Michael McDowell is the winner. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was overall a good race, even though there was a 6-hour rain delay. Yeah, starting off, we had, well, the race in total had a lot of big crashes and a few minor ones. Starting off, we had Derek Cope just hitting the wall. Then the big, was it 14 or 15 car? Right?
15.
15.
Oh, no, 16. It was like
16.
a 16 car pile up.
Yeah, 16 on lap 15, or yeah, pile up, which took out every driver that I was rooting for or that I was hoping to win, and including my favorite driver. Then, yeah, just it was rain delayed from there. When it came back, I didn't watch too much, but I did get to watch it when it was re-showing on Monday, yesterday. So pretty much just the beginning and the end of the race. We had those big crashes in the middle. It was just pretty basic, pretty racing, pit strategy. It was good racing here and there, not so good racing here and there, in my opinion. But as far as Daytona 500s go, this one was good, I think.
I did not really think it was that good, to be honest with you. And it's not just because Joey Logano lost. It was the fact that in the daytime, they raced solid in the first 15 laps before the pileup. They raced very solid. Then the pileup happened, took a lot of contenders out. Blaney, Byron, Di Benedetto, so many other guys that could contend were taken out, but you still had your contenders like Logano, Keselowski, McDowell, like we just said. And then when the 6-hour rain delay ended, they just started racing in a train on the high side, and it just got very boring and repetitive after a while. There wasn't really that much passing, unless you were counting a stage or the finish. But I just give it a meh rating, to be honest.
The 500 I think was the lowest point of the speedway. I mean, it happened, of course, and then we had a massive rain delay. That was really boring. And after that, it was the Polo Denny Hamlin 500. I mean, all they did was follow Hamlin on the top and pretty much that, unless it was a stage finish or the race finish itself. Uh, I did not like the finish. Not only because my favorite driver wrecked, of course, but because I was pretty shocked by the fire that was caused by the Slowski's car. I mean, that was scary. I was watching a friend and thought he was dead. So yeah, pretty scary finish. Good winner, I must say. Really nice to see McDowell win this. The other than that bad race. I started making notes about the races this year, and I gave this one a 3 out of 10. So yeah,
I would have to agree with you with the 3 out of 10, honestly. Um, and I'm gonna give my thoughts on the finish because I'm a huge Logano fan. Like I've said countless times, Luis is a Logano and a Chase Briscoe fan. I was trying so hard not to be loud because I thought Joey was gonna win that. He had a good gap because they kept using that train. I knew Keselowski was gonna try some stuff, but um, that's just racing. That's just what happens in the 500. I know, admittedly, I was upset and I was going "F you, McDowell, F you, horseface Keselowski." But when I finally cooled down and really watched it and soaked it in, I was like, it's just racing. That's what happens. Logano threw the block because I don't know if he realized Keselowski was getting pushed for McDowell. But even though some video I saw, it didn't look like he blocked really that bad and then just got taken out in the run by Keselowski. But great to see McDowell win. He's always a solid pick to win in super speedways. And if you do fantasy, like all three of us and the rest of the podcast crew, he is definitely a great pick to do in fantasy. So I would be on the lookout for him to be up there in super speedway and road course races.
yeah, McDowell's a solid pick, mainly at Daytona. I mean, he's good at Talladega as well, but his failure comes at Daytona. I mean, I read somewhere that in last 10 or 11 Daytona races, he has the best average finish with 11.5. So yeah, he's a top pick at fantasy at Daytona. And I'm really sad I didn't pick him because all six of my fantasy drivers wrecked in the 16 car pileup at the start. I wish
Yeah.
I would pick Hammond, McDowell.
Yeah, talking about fantasy here, we all play fantasy. Like I just said, almost everyone in the podcast crew except Christian and Luis plays fantasy. So if you want to join our fantasy league, link will be in the description below. But yeah, definitely go for McDowell. And I am going to now say what happened to my fantasy drivers. I lost my train of thought for a second. I lost Blaney, which wasn't horrible because I just didn't have a garage. Joey and Brad and McDowell and Hamlin basically carried me to the end. Oh, and I lost Newman too. I forgot I had Newman. But yeah, I wasn't really affected that much by fantasy besides Logano and Brad crashing out. Ryan?
Yeah, fantasy wasn't too bad for me. I had Logano, Keselowski, Harvick, Chase, and Kyle Busch, who all wrecked. I'm pretty sure the Chase wreck, Chase or Harvick. I'm pretty sure Harvick was involved in the first.
He might have gotten damaged, but I don't. Actually, no, he was up front.
Yeah, well, they got me some good points for fantasy. I got most points from Harvick and from Logano, from what I'm reading. No, from Harvick and from Chase Elliott, actually. So,
Nice.
yeah, all of my fantasy drivers were involved. Some not as much as others. Some were able to carry on, but it was still pretty interesting, to say the least. And about the ending, when I just saw it, I thought it was McDowell's fault. Like, I was never a fan of McDowell. I didn't know much about him, but obviously I was glad he won. But it took me like 3 times or 4 times of watching the ending again on YouTube to realize that he didn't cause it and that it was actually between the Penske cars and probably spotter error, I would say. with blocking that caused it.
Yeah, but I won't really blame anybody because they're all going for the race at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I'm
it was
sure-
the last lap, so
I'm sure you all would be very frustrated as well if your favorite driver was taken out. So I say don't place blame on anybody, and it's just good hard racing, and we should enjoy it for what it is. And now let's take a look at you guys' thoughts. Jimmy Jim 48x7 says McDowell won. Yeah! And if you did not notice, Brandon and Christian are not here because they had stuff to do. So I'm gonna read Brandon's thought bubble. He says, first points race of the season, excitement. Eli Fish's MD, for those of you who remember him, he was on an episode for a little cameo. He says, because I only had time to watch part of it. And and Eli, if you're watching this, I don't know if you watched this, but if you are, I'm actually surprised that you watched. And if you want to watch more, hit me up. We can watch together sometime. Driver of the day is Denny. He only got one vote, or whatever. And you guys' thoughts on the finish? Christian says, good hard racing. Anything goes. Logano was blocking for the win. Brad got a big run. Nowhere to go. That's pretty much my thinking now. Jimmy Jam 48x7 says scary, and Brandon says Brad admitted his mistake, so we good. All right. Now we have one news topic because we're trying to shorten these episodes. Last episode was an hour 45, so very sorry for their long episode. We're going to try and shorten them a little bit. Martin Truex Jr. gets extended by Joe Gibbs Racing. So what's you guys' thoughts on that?
same with the Denny Hamlin extension. I'm not too surprised. He was obviously performing with them, not as much as Hamlin was, but he was still winning a few races every year. And I'm not the biggest fan of Truex, but I still think it's good for him, obviously, and good for the team because he is doing good there. He's doing the best that he's been there. Well, he won the championship, not for Joe Gibbs, but he's still doing great there in the 19 car. And I think it is nice to see that he is returning with them.
Well, it's not a shocker, honestly. Truex was very, very good for the first few years of his career. Started to fall off last year because of the crew chief switch, but managed to come back in the second half. So it's a decent signing for Joe Gibbs for the last few years of his career, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's a good move from Joe Gibbs. I mean, Truex is still a really good driver. Of course, in 2019 he won 7 races, and in 2017 he had arguably the best season of the decade. So I mean, Truex when he's on is arguably a top driver along with Harvick and well, they can shoot Halverson. But of course, he struggled with a new crew chief last year, but that happens to almost everyone, so there's nothing to worry about, and he'll bounce back this year.
And just real quick, I want to just take a time to say Luis is very heavy into reading stats. So if you're ever arguing with a dumb NASCAR fan, hit him up. Anyways, now we'll get into our closing topic. Top 10 non-fatal Daytona 500 crashes. So this list was made by Christian, and Christian only, which shout out to Christian for that. I give you full credit for this list. We're just reading it and rating crashes. So I'll have Luis start us out.
Yeah, the first crash on this list is Petty's 1988 crash. This one is very well known because it was in the movie Cars at the very end. Uh, he got spun out of front four and he hit the wall and started flipping, hit the catch fence, and due to the G forces he experienced, he lost sight temporarily. But after that, he still raced the next week and actually got his last top five of his career. So it was a pretty heavy crash, but he didn't really suffer injuries from it.
In at number 9 is Tony Stewart's 2001 Daytona 500 flip. Here is the clip.
She gave her heart to a falling star. When news filtered through of his tragedy, all the walls went up. Around the world she declined.
The crash started because Ward Burton got loose after a push from Robbie Gordon and turned into Stewart, who flipped over and was part of the 18-car pileup coming into the backstretch. Tony walked away with a concussion, and every other driver was okay. And fun fact, apparently the car is still around somewhere. Or actually, I can go. Never mind. I forgot Brandon wasn't here. Number 8, Darrell Waltrip, 1991 Pepsi 400 flip. Here's the clip of that.
2 by 2 out of the second turn and down the backstretch. That's Waltrip and Alan Kowicki leading this.
Oh,
look at Earnhardt.
Got sideways. Somebody looked like made some contact with
Uh-oh, we've got a problem.
Contact here for sure. Darrell Waltrip and Joe Rutten. Waltrip car gets on his roof and over and over.
Darrell Waltrip tumbling down the backstretch in what appears to be a very, very serious crash. Joe Ruttman, the other car involved in that incident. Darrell Waltrip.
Come on, BW.
And all we can do now is hold our breath.
It looked like the car was going to slide through the grass there and be okay, but then I don't know if it crossed some pavement or something, it dug in.
Yes, Ned, it caught a road over there, and it just...
And when the car got slightly in the air, then it just went on over. The air got underneath it, and it began to overturn, overturning several times.
There were so many cars running in that pack. Something almost had to happen. Boy, they were just going at it so hard.
That we see Darrell. He's down on the inside of Kowicki, and Joe Ruttman right behind him. Now here comes Earnhardt. Looks like someone had tapped him. But Kowicki came down and touched Darrell.
Threw him back into Ruttman.
Ruttman gets in the side of him.
And then
here's the road they hit.
Yep. When he hits the road, it gets him airborne, and the car starts over. Of course, he was being pushed by the car number 75. That was just a circumstance there.
There was certainly nothing aerodynamic that caused that crash. When they went over that paved road, which is part of the road course, that's when the car got airborne and began to flip. Here's another angle.
We see Darrell down on the inside of Alan Kowicki, and there's Earnhardt pulling out, making it about 3 abreast back there. But Kowicki was up a little bit high, and Darrell looked like they just went together as they came off of turn 2 and started Darrell to the infield, and Rutten took him with him.
Car rolled over 5 or 6 times and came to rest on its side. And the rescue of Darrell Waltrip continues in the backstretch. As we once again look at the rescue of Darrell Waltrip, who, as we said earlier in this race, was hurt here a year ago in practice before the day before the race. It knocked him out of competition for a while, and he's been involved in what appears to be a serious crash here today. We'll be right back.
This started because he was pushing somebody and they both went into the infield and Waltrip flipped over very violently and he walked away with a concussion and a broken rib.
Out of the fourth turn, end of lap 1. The leader's at record speed, but the rest of the field is in trouble back in the fourth turn. The most fantastic pileup in auto racing history takes 37 cars out of the race. Some drivers free themselves from the wrecked cars to find out, is anyone hurt? There's a serious threat of fire. Fuel tanks were split by the impact. All drivers accounted for, only 8 of the 37 drivers suffered even minor cuts and bruises. And perhaps most amazing of all, no fire. Roll bars, crash helmets, seat belts, and Lady Luck saved lives this afternoon. 24 of the 37 cars are wrecked. 12 are totally demolished. The others are moved to their pits for quick repair, if possible. The mechanics work frantically. The race is stopped. All cars that are still running are in position on the front stretch. Months of work and planning gone. Banju Matthews, car number 49, ready to lead them out when the signal is given. He was in position 1 when the red flag halted the race. In half an hour, mechanics in the pit areas try to work wonders. Time runs out on some, when after a 40-minute delay, the track is clear and the race is restarted. Of the original field of 68 cars, only 44 are in running shape, and some of these are still in the pits. The pace car leads them around in a single-file parade lap. The 40-minute delay may have serious consequences. Rain clouds are darkening the sky. Unlike European road racing, these cars and drivers are not able to go full speed on a wet surface. For some, the race is just beginning. For some, it's all over.
It was actually a very big lineup. We had 68 cars entering the 1960 race at Daytona. With this amount of cars, it was hard to imagine that there won't be any accidents. And after a minute and a half racing, driver of the number 66 car, Dick Foley, lost control and spun out near the front of the field, causing half of the field, almost half of the 68 cars, to just go left, right, trying to avoid causing any damage to their cars, and by doing that, they caused more. At the end of it, there were 37 cars just all piled up, colliding, some on the track, some off into the grass. 24 of the cars were so badly damaged that the drivers, including Ralph Earnhardt, actually couldn't continue and they had to forfeit the race. 12 of the cars were upside down on their roofs or still rolling. and 8 of the drivers were sent to a local hospital in ambulances. Thankfully, no one was injured, and it actually took 39 minutes of red flag just to clean up the mess after the race.
Yeah, I did not know that.
At number 6, we have Ricky Rudd's 1984 Busch Clash crash. He got
Oh, trouble! Ricky Rudd slamming toward the wall, crashing, rolling over.
Running in a tight little pack. There wasn't a lot of cars in that race. It was like 12 cars. And I remember the guy behind me, Jody Ridley at the time, coming out of turn 4, barely nudged in the back of my, hit me in the back bumper. It barely nudged me, but it did. It broke my car loose. And when it did, it started sliding to the infield. About that time, it got airborne. The car went up. Everything got really quiet. It went up pretty high in the air. I remember being way up in the air. After that, when it came down and hit, if you'd asked me what happened, I'd say, well, I came back down, hit the ground. It knocked the wind out of me because I remember hearing all the air leave my body, just like you do when you listen to the NFL game tapes when the guys hit each other and you hear the wind get knocked out of somebody. I heard that. The next thing I remember, I'm waking up and the car is upright and they're basically working to get me out of the car. I remember that and didn't remember anything else. I mean, it just like, I guess I went to sleep during that time, and probably glad I did because I didn't have any bad memories of it other than the aches and pains that hung around for quite a while.
run out of turn 4 and started rolling down towards the pit road entrance, and at the same time air got under his car and he started flipping. He almost hit the pit road wall, but ended up in the infield grass with a car that was missing a window, so that's pretty heavy. And he suffered a concussion, and his eyes were swollen shut. He still raced the Daytona 500 later that week, and after that, NASCAR started checking drivers' injuries before allowing him to race. And I think it was also one of the reasons the roof flaps got introduced to the cars.
And at number 5, we have Rusty Wallace, 1993. Here's the clip.
Here comes from behind. Rusty Wallace is turning over.
Rusty Wallace, 20 feet in the air, spinning, crashing.
Well, I'll tell you, when they're running that close together and jockeying around position, you just know that things like this are going to happen. And a very unfortunate situation for Rusty Wallace.
Racing
here,
back to the line.
Back to the flag as Dale Jarrett moves around the Hutch Strickland car.
At the stripe.
You know, you almost feel like you're just sitting there waiting for it to happen with that big pack of cars. Unfortunately, we've seen it a couple of times. Hopefully, Rusty's okay here.
Pontiac number 2, totally destroyed, at least 10 times over.
Is he moving in there?
I believe he is, Neil. That looks like some movement by Rusty in there. Let's hope to the Lord it is.
Yeah, he's taking his helmet off, it looks like.
89 Winston Cup champion, Rusty Wallace.
Had a great run going here today.
Safety crews on it and in it just as soon as the field moved by.
Yeah, that car had hardly stopped rolling until one safety member was right there.
Crew chief has called in and has said that Rusty Wallace says, I'm okay.
Oh, that's great news.
Thank goodness. I tell you, it attests to these cars. We say it over and over again. But when something, we see what happened with Davey in this. Here we go. Let's see what happened on this thing. There's Jarrett. He gets in the line. The 66 car right behind Waltrip. Looked like they tapped. They touched right there, the 66. And then Rusty, he gets clipped right there, turns sideways, and we know what happened after that. The air gets out of the car. Yeah, it looked like the 66 and the 30. Got to look at Rusty's car, how high in the air. Real violent flips right here. Boy.
Wow, similar to Darrell Waltrip here in the 400 miler in July a couple of years ago. There it is again.
Another angle. Looks like Derek Cope was involved.
Yeah, he clipped the 30 car of Michael Waltrip. They got together.
And as you watch that, it reminds me a bit of the late Connie Saylor, who passed away just a week ago. Remember when he sailed down the backstretch, Ned? What a great racer he was, and died of cancer this past week. But he had an incident similar, except he went the whole backstretch upside down. Connie greatly missed here.
Let's see, there's the 30 car. It's hard to tell. They were so close together. But anyway, the 30 and the 66 go over, tag Rusty. Watch the car. The minute the air gets under, inverted wing up in the air.
You know, I think from the blimp we may get it. I think that is where you're going to see it. Look at this Wallace car, just disintegrating. As it settled, he said, "I'm okay."
And the roll cage held up in that car.
Yeah, he got tagged. You can see it from the blimp.
Yep.
The 66 coming across on the 30. It catches the number 2. Frightening crash.
Yeah, and they said the minute the car stopped, Rusty hollered, "I'm okay." So he knew he needed to call those guys.
He's
Thank
walked to
goodness.
the ambulance.
We're in Jeff Bodine's car now as he goes through there. He said, "I got by that one,
Windshield.
accepting that a big piece of debris off of Wallace's car hit him right in the top of the windshield."
Looked like the front windshield out of Rusty's car went right over Bodine. Turns them to junk in a hurry, doesn't it?
And again, remarkably, they walk away.
From a rocket ship.
There he was, walking to the ambulance. The 1989 Winston Cup champion, Rusty Wallace, walks away from the remains of that car. Unbelievable. Back in a moment.
With 31 laps to go in the 1993 Daytona 500, Garrett Cope and Michael Waltrip made some contact and got into Wallace, who was sent flipping violently in the air. Luckily, he was all right. Also, number 4, we have Andy Farr, 1994. Here's the clip of that.
Oh my God. Really was. Oh.
So I can't really find anything about the crash to like write a script about. So I'm just gonna see what I saw. He got loose. It looked like he came down near where the yellow line is, got loose, and then hit the wall and just flipped very, very violently. Luckily, he escaped with some injuries, I think, but definitely a gruesome crash.
Yep, and for number 3, we have Austin Dillon's 2015 wreck at the Daytona 500. Here's the clip.
Junior to the bottom of the track. Junior will win a Daytona. And the big one happens behind them.
Oh my God.
The 3 of Austin Dillon into the catch fence. All the crews getting out to that car to assist these drivers. Thumbs going up from all the crew members, and the crowd roars. Look at the catch fence on the front straight. Crew members pulling. Austin Dillon out, he's walking. The damage to the 4 of Kevin Harvick. What an incredible sight to see Austin Dillon walking away from that 3 car that is demolished.
Yeah, the 11 gets kind of stuck in the middle there and comes across the 4's bumper. As he does, he spins back in, gets the 3 airborne, and he just gets projected off the other cars right up into the fence.
He went from the bottom of the racetrack over 2 rows of cars and into that catch fence.
Here we go. You can see him on the bottom. Rex starts in front. He runs in the back of the 24. Gets up on the 11. Now he's on top of the 50.5. And now it's just along for the ride. Watch the car stop. Watch the car stop. It gets into those poles, and it goes from I don't know what, 180, 190 miles an hour. I'm just guessing, to a complete stop. That is unbelievable.
And it looks like that's 3,500 pounds. That stock car is extremely heavy. And you see here, after he's upside down, the 2 is spinning. Obviously, he's already lost control, makes more contact with the 3.
$11 and the 4 to get together. Here we are at the start-finish line.
It just pushes the 3 up into the air enough that it rolls over the top of a car. And then that momentum just continues to move him into the catch fence. Hang on. This will be a wild ride. That was Tony Stewart going underneath the 3. And here was the response from Austin Dillon. After he got out, pulled the helmet off. The crowd was roaring at this point in time.
Yeah, this has to be the best sight of the night. You know, this is the scary part of auto racing is when you see a big accident, we see Austin Dillon get out. What he's removing there is his head and neck restraint. It connects to his helmet to keep his helmet from overextending somewhere a Hans device. That's another version of it, another safety innovation really that's been required in NASCAR for a few years now.
Now, when people think of Austin Dillon, this is probably one of the first things that come to mind. At the Daytona 500 in 2015, they were racing hard in the last lap and right in the tri-oval trying to make a move. Denny Hamlin, from what I saw, came down onto Kevin Harvick's front bumper, which sent him spinning down and back up the track. As he came up, he hit Austin Dillon at such an angle right on the apron that it sent the car up sideways, barrel rolled in the air, and smashed into the catch fence, bottom first, tires first. With speeds nearing like 200 miles an hour. And when the car landed back on the ground, landed on its roof, and that wasn't it. Brad Keselowski, who was trying to avoid the wreck, because other cars did wreck as well, he got loose and started sliding and slid right into the 3 car, knocking him back, spinning it on the roof across the finish line. It was confirmed by the track president, Chitwood III, that 13 fans were examined by the medical crew. 4 of them went to the infield care center, and 1 went to a local hospital outside of the track, while the other 11 refused to be treated. And Austin Dillon, somehow, with the help of the crews and teams, made his way out of the car, was walking awake and alert, and ended up walking out of the infield care center with only bruises on his forearm and tailbone. So it really does show how far NASCAR has come with safety.
Yeah, well, at number 2, we have Ryan Newman's twin crash.
Finishing second. Blaney tried the top side, tried to get low. Ryan Newman goes around, and the car goes to its roof, and here's the on-rushing Corey LaJoie picking it up and over. We'll give you further.
This one's recent. We all know what happened. He was getting pushed by Blaney right coming to the start of the finish line. About 2,500 that year, and he got turned, hit the wall, and then got hit again by LaJoie after flipping. And that was a first crash. I think I speak for everyone when I say we were all scared, because Newman didn't get out quickly, but he walked away and walked out of the hospital a couple days later with the stars. And that was a great moment and showed how far safety has come, and that we should be thankful for everything NASCAR has done with these cars.
Yep.
And I'm going to read the honorable mentions. Lee Petty and hold on one second. I gotta get the picture back up. Sorry. Kyle Larson 2013, Lee Petty and Johnny Beauchamp, Maynard Troyer, Randy LaJoy, Cale Yarborough, Ryan Newman again in 2003, 1990 Pepsi 400, Todd Cleaver and Dan Shaver, Andy Belmont, John Banks, AJ Foyt, Juan Jetfire Montoya, and Bay Darnell Lake Lloyd Crash. And now in at number 1 we have Jeff Bodine. Here's the clip.
Did you notice just momentarily he hit that brake pedal? It's a lot easier to just touch that brake than let off the gas to slow that truck down. Jeff's staying up high going in the corner. He's not following the truck in front of him. Don't know what's going on there. Whoa! Oh, look out! We got trouble. This is going to hurt. Uh-oh. Oh, my. Oh, my.
Yep.
Keep your fingers crossed.
And it was so good for so long, it turned into so bad so quickly.
We'll be back to see what happened, and as I said, keep your fingers crossed, folks. We're at Daytona. Now, for those of you who have tuned in and wondered, wait a minute, why is the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series on ESPN2 at this hour? This race was supposed to be over at 1:30. Well, a 10-truck pileup on the tri-oval in which Jeffrey Bodine was injured with a fractured right cheekbone and a fractured right wrist, right elbow, big toe, and possible ankle fractures. And this is how it all happened, Benny Parsons.
About the 6th or 7th place there. There's Jeffrey Bodine, bam, in the outside retaining wall, and watch as he tumbles down the straightaway. Now, again, right, another truck is going to come along and hit him. Here, watch and listen. From Jeffrey Bodine's onboard, listen. One more angle. Then the green car goes down. He and Kurt Busch go up and they touch the 46 of Rob Morgan and hit the outside retaining wall. Goes Jeffrey Bodine.
The truck comes totally apart. You'll see the motor flying off there on the left upper portion of your screen. It ended up about 300 feet further down the track. One more view. Look how high he got.
I've been around this sport since 1960, and I've never seen a crash that a vehicle was torn up that bad. There's Jeffrey Bodine after he was taken out of the truck trying to get the oxygen mask off as he's taken to the ambulance.
Benny, just a terrible crash, but all of the safety equipment mandated by NASCAR, the rollover cage, the fireproof equipment, and the catch fence did its job.
The crash started when Kurt Busch and Rob Morgan made contact and caused a chain reaction behind them, which caused Bodine to flip and land in the catch fence. Several fans were injured, and Bodine himself had very bad injuries. And I guess that concludes the list, and that concludes the episode in general. Okay guys, so while I was editing the video, I realized that we all managed to forget to say our race picks, and all 3 series are going to the Daytona road course this weekend. So I am going to now say our 3 picks because I managed to get everybody to say theirs. So I have Kaz Gralla for the truck race, AJ Allmendinger for the Xfinity race, and Chase Elliott for the Cup race. Brandon has Sheldon Creed, AJ Allmendinger, and Chase Elliott. Ryan has Christian Eckes and AJ Allmendinger for both the Cup and Xfinity races. Christian has Stuart Friesen, AJ Allmendinger, Martin Truex Jr., and Luis has Zane Smith, Austin Cindric, and Martin Truex as well as Christian did. Alright, back to the conclusion of this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe. Let us know if we should talk more about fantasy picks. Thank you so much to LFRD for coming on, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.